You're crazy, Glenn.
Yeah.
See, he drinking that juju juice again. There you go.
Ready, everybody?
Ready?
Hut one, hut two, hut three.
Sounds funny, Glenn.
20 seconds.
20 seconds.
Woo! 20 seconds.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Our World, Our Power. And I'm Lady Pauline, your host. And I would like to take the time to introduce my co host, Mr. Glenn Greenwich, the Honorable Mayor of Southern Boulevard. Welcome and Happy New Year, Glenn.
Welcome,
This is
welcome,
our
welcome,
first
and happy
show.
New Year to you.
This is our
Yes,
first
it
show
is.
for the new year.
All
We have a
right.
we have a very special lineup today, and we have Georgia Nora. He's an author, a publisher, social justice communicator, and advocate, and he's also running for city councilman in Queens. Welcome, Mr. Georgia Nora.
Thank you, Lady Pauline. It's a
Yes,
pleasure to join.
yes. And I also have Mr. Alvin Haley of TMI, who, which is a, I should say, Mr. Alvin Hartley from from TMI, who deals with business. And as a matter of fact, he's my PR man for Our World, Our Power. And I also have Mr. Wayne Gilman. I don't know where he's at. Political analyst. He's having some trouble getting on. So we're going to start without him, and I guess he'll join us when he can. My first question is,
Are we gonna pay some bills? I thought we were gonna pay some
you gonna
bills.
pay some bills first before we get into it? All right, go ahead,
Yeah,
go
let's
ahead,
let,
Glenn.
let's before we get it started.
All
So,
right.
if you don't know, you need to know. Black Spectrum has this fantastic season passport that's coming in. Getting a lot of feedback, Joey. Uh, we've got Black Spectrum has got the season pass, and they just had, and it's every Friday night, and they just had one 2000 Block the Prophecy. That was last night, and of course, the 22nd is Once Upon a Lifetime. So you definitely don't want to miss that. And then on January 29th, a conversation with Vivica A. Fox. So you definitely don't want to miss that. And then coming up in February, we've got Thurgood, and that's February 5th. The Shoes on the Other Foot, Sampson's Way, that's February 12th. And then February 19th, if you're from Queens, you might have been to one of the St. Albans jazz festivals. And so we're going to have that available on the 19th. And then on the 25th, 26th, Mr. Paul Mooney. Now, you might be wondering, well, how do I sign up? What do I have to do? Well, what you do is you go to www.blackspectrum.net, select Season Pass 2020-2021, and you can select your payment method, or you can call in during the week, Monday through Friday, from 10 to 6 p.m., 718-723-1800. And we've got one of our special sponsors who happens to be on today, Mr. Alvin Hartley from TMI.
Oh, was that me? You ever notice, it's like you're supposed to give a cue. You know, I was usually open up a throat lozenge, but you caught me off cue. Well, thank you very much. Well, that's the TMI and Partners. Well, that's right. If you would like to know us as a small business solution company, you can dial into www.tmium.com. That's tmium.com. Back to you.
Okay, Alvin. There's nothing like a live show. But, you know, a lot has been going on the past 2 weeks, actually, and I wanted to sort of base the show around it. And I'm so amazed by the things I've been watching on television. So, my first question I'm going to ask George Honora, who is running the country?
Oh, okay. Wow. That's a loaded question.
or,
Uh,
or, or is anybody running it?
who is, yeah, who is running the country really depends on who you are asking or how people perceive it. But ultimately, the president is the leader and commander in chief of the United States. And then you have the Congress, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. But over the last couple of weeks, things appear to have gotten out of hand that someone like you and many other folks are wondering who is really in charge. You know, it's unfortunate that politics and governance has degenerated to the level that we have seen with the kind of insurrection. That's what many of us have referred it as, because you have a bunch of people who unfortunately decided to invade the nation's capital, which is Washington, D.C., and came into Congress and, in a way, almost desecrated the whole of governance. And that's a very tragic something. In fact, I wrote a piece in one of our local newspapers, Queen's Courier, where I discussed the issue. I referred it as insurrection. Is such a thing was actually meant to disorganize the political institution, create chaos and things like that. But who is running the country is supposed to be our leaders, people that we elected and then trusted to go to Washington and represent us. What we have in is supposed to be a bicameral legislature. We have the House of Representatives and the senators. And these folks are there to make laws that will guide the leadership, try to do things, implement legislation that will help to people in communities in different states. And the president, as the leader, the commander-in-chief, are supposed to play some role and make sure things are in order. But unfortunately, as most of us have seen, things have gone downhill, and some of us are wondering who is really in charge. It's an unfortunate situation, and
Well, George, we have a nut that's running the White House right now, and I hate to say that, but a few years ago, me and you and Joe, we all went down to Washington, and I remember us trying to get into certain office buildings, and it was very difficult. We had to show ID, and they wanted proof that we were the press and everything. And I'm just wondering how all these people were able to get in, penetrate. The word is penetrate um, the White House like that. And was it really a coup, an inside job? What is your opinion, George?
well, my opinion is that somewhere, somehow, someone dropped the ball. First of all, for you to protest in the state capital or even in New York City, you have to get permit. I don't know if they got permit. Sometimes you get permission, but within your membership, there might be others that might have other agenda. That question is yet to be answered. As I know it, there's currently investigation going on. So I believe we need to give it time to see actually what happened, because I don't want to second guess or to state what I'm not, sure about.
Yeah.
But really, somewhere, somehow, something went wrong, and then it's yet to be seen.
Alvin, what is your take on everything that has gone on in the past week? I know a lot of people has been glued to the television set, and I wanted to know, what did you think when you saw people, crashing the windows of the White House and just acting like animals? Um, Alvin,
White privilege.
okay,
White privilege. Um, let's be honest, and it's good to see that America is starting to say it out loud, and I'm talking more white media than anything else. Um, they knew for a fact that people were coming, but they felt that these were good protesters, which a good portion of these people were just protesting. I get it. I get it. But they felt they did not have to prepare. And that's white privilege. And what I mean by white privilege, again, as I mentioned to you before we came on this show, who goes and robs a bank and takes a video of yourself robbing a bank and then put it up on Facebook? You
yeah,
can't say because I'm taking my house back. You know that's illegal. You know it is. But you felt because you were white, you can do it. And then take photos of it, put it up in social media, brag to your families and friends. If black folks, Muslims, I guarantee you, if they were all women and did it, they'd try to put all the women in jail. It's
right.
straight white privilege. You can't say anything else different.
Glenn, I know you're in politics. What's your take on the situation, partner?
Well, I wouldn't say that I'm in politics, but I work with the city agents. Let me put it this way: I'm a pseudo agency that works with the city. Here's the thing for me, and you said it, and Alvin said it. This thing was an attempted coup. Let's be very clear. There were people that had intentions to kidnap and hold hostage elected officials. Um, at one point, threatening to hang them. We've heard some statements speaking to that. Now, uh, Alvin talked to it. If it was a Black Lives protest, they would have never gotten to the steps. Okay, if you look back at any of the previous Black Lives Matter protests, they had that thing locked down. They had more than two or three barriers set up. Uh, they had armored cars, they had the horses, they had the whole nine. Now, an event is happening. You know that the president has been talking about the election has been stolen. So he's been, you know, um, stirring up the fumes, the fire, the flame. He's been throwing gasoline on the indignity that he didn't get reelected. Okay, and he said, "Stop the steal," and he says, "Go to the march on the Capitol." Now, yes, true. Not everybody that was in Washington were the agitators. Part of that. True, absolutely. However, there was an element that was there to do harm, and they almost were successful because let's face it, if they had captured any of the elected officials, we'd be in a whole different conversation right now. Okay. And I suspect that, again, as George said, the facts are still coming out. I don't know this for sure, but my suspicion all along is that uh, President Trump was looking to create a coup and to put himself in place to be the leader. And I believe, this is Glenn Greenwich speaking, I believe that he would have put his sons in to follow him. And that was the plan. I'll
Now,
stop there.
you'll stop there, Glenn? Okay. Well, what gives this man, and I use my term loosely, man, this type of power? We know we have power as a president of the country, but this man seems to feel that he has power over the world, the whole entire universe. And everybody must bow down to him. And if you don't bow down to him, and kiss his feet and kiss his ring, you're definitely not on his, good list. I've heard so many people, state the fear that they had over the 4 years to even speak to him about certain things. So if anything is going, wrong, everybody has to lay back and just, say, okay, okay, sir, everything is okay, everything is good. And is this a way that we want America to be run? Obviously not. Okay, but somebody still voted for him 4 years ago, put him into office, and gave him this type of privilege.
Well,
Anybody want
well,
to comment on that?
I'll
Well, I,
jump in and I'll defer to the rest of the folks. Just quickly, what I'm going to say is that if you listen to where he was coming from, the the 20 prior to the 2016 election, he was already talking that was a fix was on. So if you go back and listen to him prior to 2016, he was already saying that it was a fix on. He was very surprised to actually get elected. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing is that once he came into power, he was already calling the news media fake news. Now, why would you do that? What does a dictator do? One of the first things that a dictator does is he takes out the media. He then takes control of the money and like that. So I mean, it was it was a straightforward plan, and he had Bannon in there who was a white supremacist. So he had the backing of the white supremacy group of this nation, and I believe that that's what the fear was. Let me yield to the rest of the guys.
Alvin and George, what do you think?
I'll let George go first because I got a good one, but
Okay.
I'll let George.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
George.
So, I mean, the presidency, number one, is a bully pulpit. The person that you elect as president, depending on their personality, has a way to govern. Obama governed in a more humane, humble, charismatic way. Uh, Bush governed differently, and Trump, based on his personality, is the type that is, sometimes we have this egotistical personality that wants to dominate, wants to be the last person to speak, and then likes to impose their his or her views on others. So that's what happened. He's that kind of leader. So, but what happened is that if you know, it's been on for a long time. America is really politically divided. You have like a kind of schism in the middle. Uh, the privileged side, the white privilege on one hand, minority blacks on the other. So this is what you have. And in the two main dominant parties that we have, the Republicans and the Democratic parties, are parties almost divided on a racial grounds. So he was able to fan the flame of the passion. He was able to rouse the passion of those that support him, his base, the evangelical, the white Southerners, and so on and so forth. So that's basically what it is. His personality types is one that likes to be the last one to speak, and he wants to propagate his agenda that he has. That is, for the most part, undemocratic, and such a thing should not happen in a democracy.
Okay. Alvin, what's your thought? I want to, first of all, I want to say something before you speak. Now, about this race that he always talks about, that he knows he has won, okay, without a shadow of a doubt. Now, when 4 years ago, when everybody thought Hillary Clinton was going to win, and everything got all turned around, and she didn't, obviously. Um, he at that point he didn't say anything to say, oh my goodness, how did I win? I feel bad for Hillary. This must have been fixed. So it's like, when the shoe is on the other foot, and it's about him, of course it has to be fixed. But so if it's fixed for him, is it fixed for anybody else?
You want me to respond to that?
Yeah, Alvin.
We keep on going down this rabbit hole. Why? Let's look at what this is. I'm going to respond to, you said people are afraid of him. There's a lot of folks that's not afraid of Trump. There's only the people that wanted to be in Trump's boat got afraid of Trump and Trump supporters that were going to kill you. There are people who totally disagree with Trump that's being threatened every single day. But they say, I don't give a darn if you threaten me. You're wrong. And your people are wrong. So the people that are really fearing him, the Senate or the Republican, because they're in his boat and they're scared of the base that he got drummed up. But the Senate or the Republicans don't have enough spine to go against their constituents because they want to keep their job. We have to keep this conversation basic, because if you take it any further, then it starts to go down a rabbit hole that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Okay. So also let's talk about when he started back in 2016, 2015. Here's where the Democrats didn't get the game, and here's where the media didn't get the game. The Democrats got to understand Trump was a marketing machine. It has nothing to do about the presidency. He was a marketing machine. Trump knew how to say certain things. If you keep saying it over and over and over and over and over again, people will start believing it. Even if you're saying it's a lie, you're repeating the lie to people. Okay?
Correct.
So now the media, if you remembered, Trump got almost, I think, a little shy of $1 trillion worth of free media space because the media wanted to cover him because it was good business. That's what they did. They kept covering him over and over and over. It wasn't until the last year of his presidency, the media says, I'm not covering that anymore. But it's too late.
Correct.
They kept covering every tiny thing the man did. So what the Democrats didn't understand was you have to repeat things over and over and stay in lockstep. Case in point, we knew that the head of the Senate, I just went blank. Who was it?
Mitch McConnell.
All right. We knew Mitch wasn't showing up. We knew Mitch wasn't passing laws. We knew Mitch was doing everything. All you had to do was put together a campaign that would have constantly said, "Where is Mitch? Where's Mitch? Mitch is never around. Mitch is not showing up. Where's Mitch? Where's Mitch? Mitch is supposed to be leaving the house." After a while, if you keep saying, "Where is Mitch? What is Mitch doing?" After a while, what is everyone else is going to start saying? Where's Mitch? The Democrats didn't know how to run a marketing machine against a marketing machine. That's how they didn't get a lot of things crossed.
All right. I got you. I got you. Now, moving forward, um, what do you think is going to happen next week when we have this inauguration? And we have a new man in office. There's a lot of stuff that has to get done. One of the first things is this vaccination that has been, dangling over our heads for the last few months, and we need to get out to everybody. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think that we are going to be able to do it without constantly hearing about, Trump being put on trial, and we forget about the pandemic that's going on? Who
Fox,
stands to that?
Fox will keep talking about Fox will keep talking about Trump. I believe that the other media won't talk about it because they don't want to give him any more gas. But Fox will keep talking about it because it meets the base. Because Fox does not want to lose that base that Trump brings to their network that brings money. So they're going to have to constantly talk about of the injustice that's being imposed on Trump. Fox has to keep Trump alive. I believe the other networks are not going to. They're going to do their best not to talk about him.
Okay. Now, a question I would like to ask everyone. Now, in case Biden unfortunately gets sick or something happens to him, obviously we will have a first black female president. How do you think that's going to go off, George?
Well, in United States, we have a rule of succession. If the office of the presidency becomes vacant, the vice president automatically will fill in the gap. So, I mean, it's something that is already enshrined in the Constitution. I know that such a thing will be history in the making, uh, but it's going to be as smooth as ever, and another president, gets to take her place. So it's not really any issue that will concern anyone. I know Biden looks very strong and energetic. I see him serving his 4-year term, and the question of whether he runs again is what we should really be talking about. But I see him in a position to go through the 4 years. But in the event such a thing happens, the system is so perfect that succession is gonna be very smooth, and we shouldn't worry about anything.
Okay. Glenn, what's your take on us having a first woman president, a black woman president, if something was to happen to um, Biden?
Well,
Because
uh,
people did
um,
not want people did not want Hillary, and she was a woman. So
well,
what's the difference?
I think part of it is has been the marketing, as Alvin pointed to. Um, how she was depicted was she was a liar, she was a cheat, she was all of this, um, and and quite frankly, I think that she left some money on the table from an advertising standpoint in terms of not going out and campaigning and doing some of the things that she could have done to do that. That being said, I thought she would have been a great president. Um, let's face modern day times. There have been many women presidents leading countries around the world, Britain, India, a couple other places as well.
Liberia.
Germany, Germany right now. So I mean, it there's it's not about the quality of leadership. It's about us as Americans allowing a woman to have the place as the presidency. And I think that what we've shown in 2016 was that we weren't ready to select a woman president. I think that if Kamala was to become the president, I think it would be accepted and we would move forward. And then I think George hit on it as well. The question is, at the end of these 4 years, uh, 2024, who will be the candidate for presidency? And then, of course, who on the Republican side would be the candidate. Although I kind of suspect that Romney would probably emerge as the Republican presidential candidate again. But we'll see. I listen. I look forward to having a woman run the country. I think that it will shake up a lot of the corporate structures that we have here, that the glass ceilings that women haven't been able to climb up. Because when you look around American corporations, we still don't have the representation, the female representation. They also still do not make the same money as their male counterparts, who are mostly white male counterparts. So um, I think that would be a shakeup that this country needs to move forward. Back to you.
Okay. All right. Glenn, it's about time to pay those bills again. Sorry about that, but
All right.
bills
Let's
must bills must be paid.
Bills must be paid. And we have for you a season pass subscription to Black Spectrum this January 22nd, Once Upon a Lifetime. January 29th, A Conversation with Vivica A. Fox. In February, Thurgood, February 5th, that's Thurgood. February 12th, The Shoes on the Other Foot, Samson's Way. On February 19th, we have St. Albans Jazz Festival. And this is an annual event that takes place in St. Albans. And February 26th, one of my favorites, the funny man Paul Mooney. So he's something special. But how do you find out about this? Well, go to
Breathing in a heavy room.
www.blackspectrum.net. Season Pass 2020-2021. Select your payment method, or if you want to call up during the week, Monday through Friday, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., 718-723-1800. Yes, and in addition to that, we also have Mr. Alvin Hartley from TMI, who's one of our sponsors, who happens to be a host today. Alvin?
Do your own commercial, Alvin.
We can't hear you.
Oh, really? I
Oh,
don't know
there you
what
go.
happened. Did I disappear?
No, we just couldn't hear you.
There you go. Well, that's right. TMI, we're your small business solution company. Oh, that's right. If you're looking to get certified and you're looking to go for that large contract, TMI and Partners is here to help you throughout your funding, your operational solution, your branding solution. Oh, that's right. Go to www.tmium.com. Oh, that's tmium.com. Back to you, Glenn.
Back to you, Pauline.
Okay, TMI. I know we was talking about small businesses. I would like to move forward for the new year, and what do you see happening in the world with small businesses? with having Biden as head of the House?
Well, here's what's happening. You've already heard some of Biden's plans that he's rolling out. Infrastructure is going to be huge. I'm not sure how fast that money will come down, but it will come down. Uh, companies, minority companies have to be prepared. You cannot just run your company as a sole proprietor and get access to these city, state, and government contracts. I know they allow you to, but it really hurts you doing it. You should at least be an LLC. So companies have to be prepared. They have to have their documents in order to apply for all of these contracts. Number two, uh, getting funds into these small companies' hands are going to be very difficult. The reason for that is because, again, if you're going to the banks are governed under certain procedures and policies. So if you don't have a credit score, if you hadn't did your taxes, I mean, there's so many other requirements. If you're not meeting those requirements, I'm not saying they're wrong, but if you don't meet those requirements, you're not going to be eligible for those funds. Granted, on the PPP and what's given away, still there's hundreds and thousands of small companies that need help. So we focus on making sure we can help those individuals get access to those funds and also be prepared. So if you really look at it with minority, women-owned companies, it's going to be very difficult. But we have 10 years to get it right. 10 years to get it right. If we get it right within 10 years, we will be pretty good.
Okay. Now, what about the money that's coming down the line? And they said that, like all the stimulus checks, they want us to put back into the community. Glenn, what's your take on that? I mean, should people be spending the money, or should people be saving the money and putting it towards their rent and their utility bills, or should they do something else? What's your opinion?
It, well, we're really talking about management. We're talking about what choices you have. Each business is going to have to look at it differently. Right now in this economy, staying open is not a given. And so people have to look to see what. So if I'm in a restaurant, I'm much more vulnerable than I am maybe in a retail store. Not to say that I don't have the same issues during this pandemic. However, there's certain types of advertising that I need to do to get people in my store. Restaurants right now, there's no indoor dining. So that means that unless you've got a thriving takeout, you're not going to be in business very long. So in the restaurant scenario, you want to be doing as much advertising and working that to the best you could. Maybe in a more of a retail, you're looking at maybe saving your money a little bit more, making sure that you're well stocked so that you can be able to give discounts. So I mean, it really depends. Each business is going to have to look at it differently. Any outlook for any business, you want to know where your cash flow is and where is it coming from. You've got certain seasons that are down, certain seasons that are up. You want to make sure that you've got a continuous cash flow throughout the remainder of the year. So I think all of those money management are going to be critical, and there's no cookie cutter approach to it. Every business is going to have to look at it specifically and manage themselves accordingly.
Okay, that sounds good. Something else I wanted to bring up, being that you're the director of the Southern Bid, as far as businesses is concerned, I noticed, I should say, I heard that a lot of big companies are going to be closing their stores. Like Macy's, a lot of the stores are going to be closing, and J.C. Penney and stuff like that. So when you have these big companies and they're having it tough and they're thinking about, closing some of their stores, what do you say to the small businesses? Do we even have a chance?
Well, you do. L- Here's what's going on with a lot of the big commercial box retailers in particular. They now have an opportunity to renegotiate their leases. So I'm Macy's, Target, you name it. I now get to look and see. I've been losing my shirt because of online competition. I'm not selling the way I was. I now have an opportunity to reduce my footprint, to reduce my overhead. So I'm looking at areas that are not the stores that are not producing as much, and I'm now going to that mall, going to that property owner, and renegotiate. I want to renegotiate my lease to reduce my overhead costs. So if you're an anchor tenant at a mall or a shopping plaza or what have you, you now have leverage to reduce that lease. So I think that a lot of the big companies, number one, because of the online competition and because of COVID, people are not coming out. They're using this as an opportunity to renegotiate. Now, as a small business, you can do the same thing. You can say, "Look, I'm not bringing in the revenues that I'm bringing in before. Is there an opportunity for me to renegotiate, to reduce my lease, or to extend my lease out longer, or what have you?" I think that the key component around that is that, again, you've got to look at your business critically. You want to see what is where what your market share is. Is it continuing to grow? Is it declining? Do you need to move into other symbiotic markets that are similar to yours right now, but that you can expand into easily? There's going to be tremendous opportunities because the smaller businesses can move a lot quicker than a big corporation. Let me add this as well. This, if people can do it, there are a lot of niches that are now opening up. And if you've got one of those niches, this is a good time to open up your business. But again, you've got to be smart about it. So maybe you start off online before you get a brick and mortar business set up going. But again, you have to look as the entrepreneur of a small business. You will have to look to see where's the market going. Are my products and services in line with where I think the business is going? Because we've had a huge change because of COVID, and things will continue to morph and change at least for another year.
Okay. I'm going to get back to you, Glenn, on something. Just want you to remember you're listening to our Power podcast. You can hear us on Spotify, iTunes, and TuneIn, and you can see us on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to follow us on our social media, facebook.com. And my email is info at Our World Media. And if you really need to reach me, you can reach me at 646-340-7271. And let's continue this conversation. Glenn, I wanted to find out, we're all we're all in Queens, and a lot of people have been asking me this question, and hopefully you can answer it. Where do people go to get COVID testing? All right, and the vaccinations in
There
Queens.
are a couple of places, and what I've been told, there's a urgent care on Sutphin Boulevard, 9022 Sutphin Boulevard. There's also a City MD on the corner of Jamaica Avenue and Guy Brewer. Those are the two places I know downtown. What I've heard is that a lot of the places that are actually giving out, so those are two testing places. Some of the testing places are getting vaccines, but they're only getting vaccines every 2 weeks. Now, there's Shea Stadium has been set up as a 24-hour vaccine, but from what I understand, we're running out of vaccines statewide. So I'm not sure how the 24-hour vaccination stations are going to be able to keep going because they're running out of vaccines.
Right, Glenn.
So yeah, back to
Right.
you.
Um,
I
George,
wanted to, Pauline,
George,
Pauline,
yes, oh yes,
I
Alvin.
want to tap into something what George said, which is important. If everyone's listening to what George was saying, you have to be prepared. The challenge that I find within our communities is they start up a business, but they don't start up the business right. They just do whatever they think is right. They start making a little bit of money. When they try to expand, they found out that they built their entire business on a straw house, and everything's going to crumble. So I think folks have to be very, very smart. You know, starting a business, even if you don't even have a full business plan, you have to incorporate. That is the solid foundation because you remove yourself from liability. You put yourself in a tax bracket where your business is being taxed, opposed to you're being taxed. I know a lot of folks may not want to hear that, but that's literally trying to run a car without gas.
That's true.
Let me even jump on that even more. When you're a corporation, you pay all your expenses first, and
Yep.
then what's left, which is your
Hello.
profit, you pay 22% on. If
There you
you're an individual business, um, doing business as a lot of people start up and do that, you're paying whatever revenue that you make. Now, we're not talking about profit. We're talking about straight total revenue. You're
hello.
paying 38% tax
Preacher.
on
There you
that.
go.
Then you have to pay your expenses. So incorporating is a huge shift in how your taxes are. And as Alvin said, your liability is limited. Back
Okay.
to you.
And the reason why we needed to talk more about this is because we must focus on explaining to people you want to get in the game, but you just have to understand it's not that difficult to get in the game. Remember, when you incorporate, as the things that Glenn said, what the benefits are, remember, when you are in a business for a year, you fill out your taxes, you start to move out of the startup category. Then people are looking at you as a viable business and you're able to get a lot of benefits. Stop doing it the way of, well, I don't want to pay taxes. I don't want to be responsible. Then why are you in business? Why? It doesn't make any sense.
I hear you.
I'd like to hear from George what
Yeah,
George
Joe.
is looking to do as a potential city council around businesses. Go ahead, George.
Well, thank you, Glenn. First of all, it's unfortunate that we're living in a very difficult time with COVID-19, and that has ravaged economies and decimated small businesses all around the nation and indeed the other parts of the world. But certainly, one of the things that we government has to do is kind of uh, inject some funds in the system, because like here in Corona, Lefrak City, we have businesses that have shut down because there's no indoor dining and they are really suffering tremendously. So they need some kind of shot in the arm to be able to reignite their businesses. So that is one essential thing that has to be done. And eventually of course, with the vaccine and other precautions that needs to be taken, uh, businesses have to come back, because then the economy will have to regenerate. So it's a very difficult time, and I'm going to be laying out my vision, of course, about how I'm going to the vision that I'm going to propose as far as small businesses are concerned in the next week. We are just new to this project, but we are getting ready, and some of these things we're going to be laid out in the next week or so. But it's very difficult situation with COVID and the challenges within the local economy. Glenn, I will be reaching out to you, and certainly Alvin, to pick your brains, so that I'll be able to bring forth the best idea for our community here in Corona. And I'm certainly ready to roll up my sleeve and go to work for the
Now,
city council.
yeah,
No
that's
doubt, no
wonderful.
doubt.
George, I want to ask you something. Now, Corona, I would like to find out, where can people get tested, and where are the vaccinations being given out at?
Right now, the testing I've seen somewhere, by Queen Center Mall, adjacent to Queen Center Mall, there has been testing. It's one of those urgent care uh, center there. People have been getting some testing. I believe at Amherst Hospital also, that is taking place. And some other sites I cannot pinpoint at this time. But definitely that needs to be done, because the economy needs to open up for things to start functioning. And of course, the kids have to go back to school, but to go back to school, you have to create the environment where people are safe, and the kids cannot go and get infected. So it's a big challenge for our government, but I trust that Joseph Biden and Kamala Harris will be well prepared to assume the realms of government on the 20th of this month. And then we can pivot from the disorder and disruption that has taken place under this current dispensation. And we really have to move forward to focus on what needs to be done.
Okay. George, I was over in Lefrak a few days ago, and I noticed that they are building, or they have moved, the Senior Citizen Center that's attached to MCOR. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, if you know, we had a senior center here, but it was moved to St. Paul's Church, eventually from St. Paul's to MCOR. But now it's coming back to Lefrak City. So by Horace Haddon and Junction Boulevard, a new senior center is coming up, and hopefully that will service seniors that live within this Lefrak City vicinity. So that's a welcome development, because for a while we have wondered why seniors will have to be bused from here to MCOR in Northern Boulevard, another part of Corona, just to get services. So that was something that was not sitting well with some of us, and we are working to relocate our elected officials to relocate the new senior center here in Lefrak City complex. So that is a welcome development in that area.
Okay. Well, we're about winding down our show. I would like to say to TMI, how can people reach you, Alvin?
Well, if they would like to reach us, they can go to tmium.com. That's tmium.com. Or they can call us at 347 234 5304. That's 347 234 5304. Or they can email us, info@tmium.com. That's info@tmium.com. I love when I make these faces when I talk.
Yes, I do too. Will they be speaking to you personally? Will you be giving them the advice personally?
Well, yeah, we have our business advisors. They always wind up speaking to me. We have a lot of business advisors, and we're looking to hire more people because we need a lot of business advisors now, a lot to help a lot of the companies. That's something that we're really looking forward to. George, definitely, if you and Glenn, if you know individuals that are looking to come on as business advisors, we need a lot of them because when this money starts coming down, these companies have to be prepared. And hopefully, we'll be making some announcement because we're getting access to more funds ourselves. So on a national level, but we're excited and congratulations for you being out there, George, doing what you have to do. And I'll be more than glad to be able to bring our few brain cells to the table to help someone like yourself. Not a problem at all.
Yeah, I take my hat off to you, George. I wish you the best. And how can people reach you, George?
Oh, well, right now I can be reached at georgeforcitycouncil@yahoo.com. And we have a Facebook page. We have a website that's currently under construction. And we're going to be sending out information as this campaign evolves. And one more thing, I will be remiss if I fail to mention that this is Martin Luther King weekend. Just yesterday, his birthday would have been 92 years old if he had lived. So happy birthday to Dr. King posthumously. And we have to do something because, he was an advocate of nonviolence and inclusion, he fought for social justice and to make our position in this country better. So we appreciate that and look forward that some of us standing on the shoulder of such a giant will continue to move that fight forward.
Very true, very true. Glenn, how can people reach you at the Southern Bid?
They can always reach me at 718-291-2110.
Okay. Well, this has been a great show. I hope our audience got a lot out of it and got a lot of information. You've been listening to Lady Pauline of Our World, Our Power, and we're on every Saturday. You can always watch us, listen to us during the week on Spotify and iTunes and iHeart, and of course our YouTube channel. So I'd like to say thank you to my guests. Mr. Alvin Hartley from TMI, and Mr. George Honora. And I I don't know what happened to Mr. Wayne Gilman, our political analyst, but we'll catch up with him at another date and time. Glenn, it was good to see you. Um,
Likewise.
yes, and take care, everybody. Catch you next week.
Thank you.